Self-discipline is the foundation of personal transformation. It's not glamorous, it doesn't shout for attention, and it rarely gets applauded in the beginning. But it is the invisible force that separates wishes from results. There's something powerful about a person who can say no to distractions, who can wake up early when no one is watching, who can hold their tongue when they have every reason to speak. It's not just about willpower, it's about alignment, with purpose, with calling, with God. You can't ask for elevation and ignore preparation. You can't pray for opportunity and live in inconsistency. There is a price to be paid for greatness, and self-discipline is the currency. In the Bible, we are said that those who are faithful with little will be trusted with much. That doesn't just apply to money or status. It applies to your time, your habits, your choices when nobody is around. The quiet moments when you choose to get better rather than bitter, those are the seeds of transformation. The world tells you to chase everything at once. Attention, approval, success. But discipline tells you to chase one thing, your assignment. And your assignment is never fulfilled through chaos. It's developed in order, structure, focus. In the Bible, we are said that God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. That's not just about external conflict. It's about your inner world. When your days are governed by emotion, your future becomes hostage to inconsistency. But when discipline takes the wheel, clarity starts to rise. We often wait for motivation to strike before we move. But the truth is, discipline moves even when motivation is absent. The difference between where you are and want to be is not a secret. It's structure. It's saying yes to small things daily until they grow into something undeniable. That's how character is built. That's how legacies are written. In the Bible, we are said that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but to the one who endures. Endurance doesn't happen by accident. It's trained, it's earned. It's practiced every time you choose growth over comfort. Some people will laugh at your routine. They'll mock your boundaries. But in time, they'll study your results, because discipline pays back in ways nothing else can. It will give you peace where there was once panic. It will give you strength where there was once weakness, and it will give you credibility where there was once only potential. In the Bible, we are said that no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So while others are waiting to feel ready, you become steady. While they scroll, you study. While they sleep, you build. And little by little, step by step, the very discipline you once resisted becomes the breakthrough others never saw coming. God uses your isolation to prepare you for elevation. It's not a punishment. It's a process. There's a sacredness to seasons when you feel cut off, when the phone stops ringing, when doors seem to close, and the noise of the world fades into silence. It's in that quiet, often uncomfortable space where God does his deepest work. It's easy to think you've been forgotten, overlooked, or delayed. But heaven has a way of working behind the curtain, preparing you when no one else is looking. In the Bible, we are said that before Joseph stood in the palace, he sat in a prison. Before David wore a crown, he wandered the wilderness with sheep. Before Jesus performed miracles in public, he spent time in solitude, fasting and praying. The pattern is clear. Isolation is not the absence of purpose. It's the beginning of refinement. It's the season where you're not being seen, but you're being shaped. God doesn't elevate unprepared vessels. He molds them, tests them, refines them in private so that they can handle the weight of public favor. When you're in isolation, it's easy to question your worth, to compare your journey with others, to feel like you're being left behind. But in the Bible, we are said that the potter shapes the clay as it seems best to him. You are still on the wheel. And while others may be rushing to be seen, you are being set apart for something deeper, something lasting. What God is doing in you now is not meant for applause. It's meant for alignment. Isolation breaks distractions. It reveals who you are when no one's clapping, when no one's calling, when no one's watching. And that's where God meets you. That's where he speaks the loudest. Not through the crowd, but through the still, small whisper in the wilderness. In the Bible, we are said that even Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. If the Son of God needed solitude for clarity and strength, how much more do we? There's a divine stripping that happens when God pulls you back. He takes away the excess, the noise, the dependency on others' approval. He teaches you to lean on him alone. And in doing so, he strengthens your foundation. So when elevation comes, and you'll rise not with arrogance, but with humility, not with noise, but with clarity, not with desperation, but with purpose. People may wonder where you've been. They might not see your growth in the shadows, but God does. He's been planting roots. And in the Bible, we are said that those who trust in the Lord are like trees planted by water, which send out their roots by the stream. They do not fear when heat comes. That's the power of private preparation. When the spotlight hits, you won't break, because your strength wasn't built in public. It was formed in silence, in faith, in isolation, under the hand of God himself. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean selfishness. It means stewardship. There is a difference between prideful self-centeredness and godly self-responsibility. One seeks to elevate self above all. The other seeks to honor God by managing what he entrusted you with. Your body, your mind, your gifts, your time, your spirit. In a world that constantly demands your attention, pulling you in every direction, there is something powerful about choosing to look inward and ask, what has God placed in my hands, and how can I honor him with it? In the Bible, we are said that to whom much is given, much will be required. That starts with understanding that your life is not an accident. You've been given breath for a reason. The talents you carry, the dreams buried deep in your heart, the burdens you feel, that's all part of your divine assignment. But assignments require attention. You can't expect growth without investment, and you can't invest in something you're constantly ignoring. That's why focusing on yourself is not pride, it's preparation. People often chase validation from others, trying to fit molds that were never designed for them. For them. But in the Bible, we are said that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That means your identity was handcrafted by the creator of the universe. Why would you outsource your value to people who didn't create you? When you begin to focus on yourself, not in vanity, but in stewardship, you begin to understand your worth isn't measured by likes, approval, or comparison. It's measured by obedience to the one who called you. God didn't call you to be a copy of someone else. He called you to manage your own lane with excellence. In the Bible, we are said that each one should test their own actions and then take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else. That's not a license for arrogance. It's an invitation to accountability. What you do with your gifts, how you nurture your soul, how you care for your mind and body, that's your field. That's your garden to tend. When you neglect yourself, you limit what God can do through you. But when you begin to sharpen your tools, discipline your habits, heal your wounds, and strengthen your foundation, you become a vessel that's ready. Ready to pour into others, ready to walk through open doors, ready to carry purpose with endurance. That's not selfish. That's spiritual maturity. And that's what the world remembers. Not the flash, but the faithfulness. Not the noise, but the endurance. Your growth in silence will echo louder than any announcement. In a world obsessed with updates, likes, and visibility, there is something incredibly powerful about moving in quiet obedience. It's not about hiding. It's about honoring the process. Sometimes the most impactful development happens when no one knows what you're doing, when the work is taking place behind closed doors, without applause, or confirmation. Silence is not emptiness. It's strategy. It's the space where God shapes, strengthens, and sets apart. In the Bible, we are said that there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. Silence doesn't mean stagnation. It means sacred progress. The seed doesn't shout when it breaks through the soil. The tree doesn't announce every inch it grows. But that doesn't mean it's not becoming something extraordinary. The same is true for your journey. You don't need to announce every plan, prove every step, or explain your vision to people who aren't assigned to it. Let the work speak. Let the results reveal what words cannot. Growth in silence allows you to focus. It sharpens your vision and protects your energy. It keeps you anchored when distractions try to detour you. It gives you time to heal without judgment, to build without interruption, and to listen to God without interference. In the Bible, we are said that Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. Even he, carrying the weight of the world, knew the value of quiet places. If Jesus needed time in solitude, how much more do we need it to become all that God has called us to be? There is wisdom in withholding. Every dream doesn't need to be announced in its infancy. Every battle doesn't need a public defense. Sometimes the most anointed move you can make is to be still and trust that God is working even when others can't see it. In the Bible, we are said that the Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still. That stillness is not passivity. It's confidence. It's knowing that growth doesn't need validation, only consistency and faith. People often look for signs of progress they can measure. Income, followers, influence. But spiritual maturity, internal peace, strength of character, those things often grow invisibly until one day they can't be denied. The person who quietly worked on themselves, who forgave in silence, who healed without applause, who learned, sacrificed, prayed, and showed up again and again, that person becomes unrecognizable in the best way. And when they finally emerge, the echo of their discipline speaks louder than any announcement ever could. In the Bible, we are said that when you give, pray, and fast in secret, your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. That promise isn't just about religious acts. It's about the principle. What you nurture in silence, God will honor in public. You don't need to shout. You just need to grow. And when the time is right, everything you build in the quiet will make the kind of noise the world can't ignore. Your growth in silence will echo louder than any announcement. There's a divine strength in moving quietly, away from distractions, opinions, and the need for validation. We live in a time where everything is publicized. Every step, every goal, every thought is shared and broadcasted. But not everything God does in your life is meant for public view right away. Some things need to grow in the dark, hidden, protected, and watered without exposure. It's in that sacred silence where God does his best work. In the Bible, we are said that after David was anointed, he went back to the fields. He didn't run to the palace. He returned to tending sheep. That season of silence wasn't a delay. It was preparation. He was being trained in private for a battle the world hadn't seen yet. That's what happens when God puts his hand on your life. You're developed in silence before you're revealed in purpose. You learn discipline when no one is watching. You conquer fear without anyone cheering. You break generational chains behind closed doors, and no one knows the cost but you and God. Not every win needs an announcement. Not every step needs a spotlight. When you're truly committed to growth, you stop needing applause and start needing alignment. You begin to recognize that success built in silence is more sustainable than attention chased in noise. In the Bible, we are said that those who humble themselves will be exalted. Humility isn't weakness, it's power under control. It's knowing who you are in God, yet choosing to let your fruit speak instead of your voice. Growth in silence also protects your vision. Not everyone will understand what you're building. Not everyone is meant to hear the dreams God whispered to you. Speaking too soon can invite doubt, jealousy, or distraction. But when you keep your head down and focus, your progress becomes undeniable. In the Bible, we are said that wisdom will be proven right by her children. That means the results of your discipline, your obedience, your quiet prayers will eventually reveal the truth of what you were doing all along. There will be times you feel overlooked. Times when others seem to rise faster, louder, and flashier. But elevation without foundation is fragile. And God isn't interested in giving you quick recognition. He's preparing you for lasting impact. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. So if God is calling you to grow in silence, trust the process. That hidden season is not wasted. It's working something deep within you. You'll find that when the time is right, what you've built quietly will make more noise than you ever could. Your transformation will speak for itself. Your healed heart, your matured mind, your elevated character, those things preach louder than a microphone ever could. When God brings you into the light, it will be clear that you didn't get there by noise, but by obedience. You didn't force it. You followed him. And now the echo of your growth will reach places your words never could.